Hi everybody, welcome to Nursing Pharmacology. It's Nursing 3041. It was formerly known as Nursing 308, so you may still notice that as on your plan of study. And I'm Professor Miller, and I will be teaching this course through winter semester. I just wanted to give you a quick overview of the course and go through the course syllabus real quickly with you. So if you go down on our course Moodle page, you'll see at the top there's some general links for announcements, our course internal email, and then a general student forum. The announcement section is, I'll use this to post general information about quizzes or tests, or just some updates with the course. This does link with your OU email account, so typically if I send an announcement, you actually will get a notification through your email system. In terms of the course for contact, I do prefer that we stick with the course internal email, just because I do get a lot of emails through my regular OU email account, and I don't want anything to get lost. And I'll kind of go through that as we go through the syllabus a little bit more too. There is a general student forum at the top of our course that you can utilize, if you want to set up study groups or if you have any course questions. And you'll notice too that as you go down through our course modules, I do always set up a question forum for each module. So if you have something related to that module, then you can go ahead and post it in that forum if you have a question. If you scroll down a little bit more, there's course resources, our course syllabus and calendars in this folder. I do have a file up here for pharmacology study tips. Take a look at that because I do feel like it helps you kind of focus in and basically gather an approach to how to study pharmacology a little more effectively. So take a look at that. I did add a drug classification template that you can use if you choose to do so. It's not obviously a requirement. It's just something to help when you're studying. So that's there for your use as well. So let's take a look at the course syllabus. First, we'll take a look at Part A. So if you click on this, you will find Part A and Part B. Part A is like the general School of Nursing course syllabus. They have it sectioned out into Part A and Part B. Part B is more specific to our course and how it runs and our assignments and exams and all that. So we'll just take a look real quickly at Part A. So in terms of Part A, obviously it'll go through how many credits the class is. It just shows that it's an online course. It has my contact information. In terms of office hours, they're by appointment. I am willing to set up any time that you may need. We can meet through WebEx, which I'll talk about shortly. Just feel free to email me. Like I said, use the internal email system if you can. If not, if you need to get a hold of me quickly, definitely use the OU email account. And that's crmiller23@oakland.edu. My office phone number is on there. However, I'm kind of in and out all day, so a lot of times I typically don't recommend going this route. I would email me. That's usually the best route of communication. Prerequisites, I'll go through some Part B because I have all this on there. And same thing with the course overview. We'll go through this with Part B. The essential content, I have this in Part B as well. So we'll kind of talk about that as we look at that document. Logging into Moodle, obviously I'm sure a lot of you have already done this. You're looking at this and watching this, so I'm assuming that you know how to log into Moodle. OU does have a good e-list site that if you're having any difficulty, like if you need to learn how to download WebEx or, just general Moodle questions, they have a great site and they usually have some help documents on there that you can look at as well. We'll take a look at this too in Part B. This just looks at academic conduct, following university policies, Americans with Disabilities Act. If you have any needs, there's a number that you can contact here to set up an appointment with them. Student perception of faculty teaching and effectiveness. I always recommend students complete the evaluations that are held for each course because that's how we learn how to improve our courses, and that's what we utilize to know what we need to change and all that. So I always recommend that students complete these evaluations essentially. And I do put one in our course at the midterm and I put one at the end, at the final, with more specific questions. And I always recommend that you add feedback in there. They're anonymous. So, anything that I can change for the course to help you guys, that's what I'm here for. So your feedback is very important to me. And then this is just student nurse professionalism, and this is just general throughout the School of Nursing. You can kind of take a look at that. ATI testing, we'll talk about this in Part B. You'll become more familiar with ATI testing as you enter the program because they have them set throughout certain nursing courses, and they have to meet you have to meet certain proficiency levels, or you retest essentially. But a lot of times you'll get remediation materials that will help you go over the content a little bit more. We'll go through this in Part B. In terms of emergency preparedness, this is typically more for online, in-campus or on-campus classes, but you can go ahead and take a look at that as well. This is the Oakland University School of Nursing grade point chart for undergraduate studies. So this is obviously the grade point chart that we use for the course. With any nursing course, you have to achieve a 70% or a 2.5 in order to proceed and pass the course essentially. So let's go back and we'll take a look at Part B. So Part B of the course syllabus is a little bit more specific, and we'll take a look at this as well. As I mentioned previously, there's my office location. It's at 2031 Human Health Building. Please contact me using the internal email in our course Moodle site. Like I said, though, if you have an urgent question or you need something, quickly, obviously email me through my OU email account. Office hours, at any point during the semester that you feel that you need help, I am here to help you. We can meet in person. Another route that we typically use is WebEx. It's actually really, really easy to use. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but it's like meeting live time on the internet, and I can share my computer screen with you. You can share yours with me. So that's another route that I'll commonly use too with students. And I typically hold a midterm or a final review session or a question and answer session. So that's something to become familiar with as well. So in terms of course description, throughout the course, we're going to explore essential pharmacologic principles and pharmacologic actions of major drug classifications. So this lays foundation for nursing management of drug therapy. And obviously, pharmacology is a very essential component of nursing practice. So one thing they always mention to students is that, and I bring it up in the other document on there, is to focus on drug classes. It's very difficult to study each individual drug. You have to look at it as a major drug class. And I think you'll understand this more as we move through the course. So throughout the course, we're going to talk about these major drug classes and then pull out specific drug prototypes that are examined in relation to each physiologic system. So the course runs through systems. Like we'll go through cardiology, we'll go through respiratory, and you'll see that on the course calendar. So the major drug classes will be presented with the integration of core patient variables, meaning, like geriatrics, pediatrics, during pregnancy. And then we also look at application of the nursing process. The nursing process, I know with a lot of you have not been introduced to it, but you will be. The nursing process is what guides nursing practice, essentially. And it's essentially a systematic approach to drug therapy across the lifespan. So we'll go into this a little bit more, but it's the way to examine, your patient and kind of integrating all the information together. This course is designed to form foundation for future nursing practice and nursing courses. It really is an integral part to your professional nursing practice. So course objectives define basic pharmacological principles for drug therapy across the lifespan. We're going to look at mechanisms of action of major drug classes in relation to normal physiologic and pathophysiologic states. Looking at essential components of pharmacotherapeutics and associated nursing interventions that support safe, effective, and evidence-based care. So it's really tying it into your nursing practice as well. Utilizing the nursing process to systematically assess patient case scenarios as it's applied to major drug classes and common drug prototypes. So we do a lot of case studies too throughout the course, and this will kind of tie it all together with pharmacology as well. Explaining the rationale for specific drug selections as well as proper dosage, route, administration, and further minimizing adverse events and maximizing therapeutic effects. The routes and dosages I'll bring that a little bit more into detail as we go through drug classes. A lot of this stuff too, you have to remember you're going to look all this stuff up. So don't, stress when you're trying to memorize all this stuff. It's a lot to It's a lot to learn. It really is. And it really takes future experience. It takes your next nursing courses. It really, and then it kind of pulls it all together for you. So don't, stress too much when you're trying to memorize all this stuff, and I try to pull out what's critical for you to know throughout my lectures. So I do always recommend that you listen to the lectures that I post up there as well. Course prerequisites, your A&P course, your pathophysiology course, because you'll find, especially as we move through the first module, that much of pharmacology relies on our normal physiologic state and pathophysiologic state. So I always recommend that if you feel like you need review your patho or your physiology prior to like looking into the drug, because a lot of times it relies on this knowledge. And I do try to put up in our course Moodle books, you'll see books up there. I put up a lot of videos that are review of this, just to kind of refresh your memory of, your pathophysiology as well. So like I mentioned, it basically the A&P and your physiology and your pathophysiology serves as an essential building block for this course. So as we move through these major drug classes, just try to review it if you feel like that's necessary. In terms of the required textbook, we use Lean's Pharmacology for Nursing Care, and we also use SurePath for Pharmacology. This is actually an online adaptive learning platform that supplements our textbook. You can purchase there's two different options you can purchase. One is online access to SurePath with an ebook, which is exactly the same as the textbook, or you can purchase SurePath for Pharmacology access with the actual hard copy textbook. And you do get the ebook with this as well. So you have the ebook and the hard copy textbook. So this is obviously the information for the textbook. You can order this directly through the OU bookstore website, which I have the link there. I always put up the readings and, certain content sections to go through on our course Moodle site. And these are the ISBNs. I know sometimes there's some confusion with this because when it's listed through the OU bookstore, it's not very clear. So the ISBN for SurePath access with the textbook is the ISBN. If you're looking for just the access to SurePath with the ebook, this is the ISBN. So obviously you can't purchase this on Amazon or anything like that because you have to get the SurePath portion. You can purchase it through Elsevier, the Evolve website. Some students said it's kind of confusing, so typically I refer students to the OU bookstore. And they do actually have it on campus as well. So you can either do it online or through on campus. As soon as you purchase it, you do have access to SurePath and the ebook. And when you're going through SurePath, you actually go in through our course Moodle site. And I put a link up there. It's actually a puzzle. It's like a puzzle icon. And that's how you're going to access SurePath. And same thing with the ebook. If you're going through that route, you access SurePath and the ebook through that little puzzle icon that I have up there too. Other recommended references that you can take a look at. I have Epocrates up there, Dynamed, and UpToDate. Epocrates is a really, really good resource to use. It might be a little bit more than what you actually need. Same thing with UpToDate. Dynamed I'm not all that familiar with, but it's up there. You can take a look at it. Epocrates and UpToDate I know for sure are available through the OU bookstore. Are available through our OU library system. So you can go through, and I think you have to go to the medical library to gain access to it. But if you browse through there, you'll find Epocrates and UpToDate through there. And it's actually, you can download it as a mobile app. I've used Epocrates in the past, and I've used UpToDate in the past. UpToDate has a lot with like medical diagnosis and labs, and it's probably more than what you would need. Epocrates is actually a really good one for looking up different drugs. Another resource that you can utilize is like a drug handbook. One of them that I'm familiar with is Davis's Drug Guide for Nurses. You can get that pretty much anywhere. You can get it on Amazon. You can any bookstores essentially, and it's a little handbook that you can carry with you. It's kind of big you can't really put it in your pocket, but you could put it in a bag if you're going to clinical or something. It's always good to have. The one good thing about the nursing drug guidebook is that it does have like IV compatibility, and it has more of those nursing interventions that are listed within it versus Hippocrates and Up to Date. They don't really have that nursing perspective there. They don't usually put the IV compatibility in there. So that's something to think about when you move into clinical. This class format is offered online. It's all online essentially, except for we do meet online or we do meet on campus for the ATI exam, which we'll cover in a few moments. So everything's online. Our online discussions, we have quizzes that are online, and then your exams are online as well. So we don't meet in a traditional sense. Instead, you're expected to participate within the specific window of time, and it may be asynchronous. Please refer to the course calendar at the end of the syllabus to kind of give you an outline. I always tell students, though, to refer to our course Moodle site because the calendar is essentially a tentative calendar. It pretty much follows that, but I always tell students, make sure you're looking at our Moodle site frequently, every day if you can. Rules of etiquette, you can go ahead and take a look at this. It's just respecting other views and no inflammatory responses. Just take a look at that. You can read that on your own. Using Moodle, I kind of mentioned this in part A. In terms of course requirements, late assignments and missing assignments, I have this kind of written up here, marking down by 10% of your grade for every day that assignment is late. I do give you a good amount of time to complete assignments, and typically these consist of our course discussions, and we'll have one for each module, and then there's quizzes that are integrated within the module as well. But I usually give you that entire module in order to complete your course assignment, so it's a pretty good amount of time. Computer access, obviously, you need to have internet connection with a web browser. With SurePath, I do recommend, because I've used Safari in the past, and it's kind of, I don't know, I was posed with some technology issues, so I find that Chrome actually works pretty good for it. In terms of Moodle, you can kind of go either way. It isn't recommended to use smartphones or tablets with this just because it kind of, it changes the format of the course structure and all that. Make sure too, like if you're taking a quiz, that you have good computer access and good reliable internet access. Obviously, if you have a problem, make sure you contact me and let me know. These are just some general technical skills. You can take a look at that. In terms of course evaluation, the course will consist of case studies, discussion questions, and the case studies are integrated within the discussion questions. We have course quizzes and exams, and it's to look at how successful you are at achieving the course objectives, and it's also utilized to help you learn the material as well. So if you're having a difficult time, make sure you let me know, and I'll try to give you some other suggestions. I'm always here to help you, so just please feel free to reach out to me. Our course exams, they are online. We'll have a midterm and a final exam. The midterm exam, they're both non-cumulative, so both the midterm and final are non-cumulative. So midterm will consist of the material from the first 6 weeks of the course, and the final will be, basically 7 weeks on. I do give a fair amount of time to complete the midterm and final exam. Like typically I'll leave it open for the day because I do understand a lot of you guys work, so I try to be flexible with that as well. And as we get closer to the midterm, obviously, I'll give you some more information about that as well. For both the midterm and final exam, I do try to put application type questions or critical thinking type questions. These are very similar to what you'll see on NCLEX examinations. Your NCLEX is essentially your boards for your RN license. So I do try to put the application type questions in there. And we'll kind of go through these with the quizzes because the quizzes are set up very similar to the final exam. So you'll get a good feel for that as to how these types of nursing style questions kind of work. Frequent quizzes are integrated within our course, and it's not only to assess your strengths and weaknesses and content that you really need to focus on more, but it's also to facilitate a higher level of learning. Utilizing this method, it creates a systematic process that ultimately helps you master the content easier. I know a lot of people probably complain about quizzes, but honestly, it keeps you on track, especially with pharmacology. So there's a ton of content. I'm not going to lie, there is a lot of content with this course. So it keeps you on track. It'll help you assess the areas that you need to focus on more as we move through each module. So I do expect that you complete them, and they are mandatory. And I expect that you complete them within the allotted time frame. So like I said, I usually keep the quizzes open from the very beginning of the module to the end of the module. So you have a really large span there when to take it. All quizzes, exams are to be taken individually, and they should be taken without the use of notes or resources. So they're not open book. You should really need to learn this material and be able to recall it without utilizing your notes in textbook. So they're not open book, essentially. In terms of course assignments, our course assignments will consist of the case studies, like I mentioned. Typically, each module will have a case study for each. It'll be divided out into groups, and as you click in there, you'll see what I kind of mean by that. But usually, they're always case studies that are discussion forums. The other assignment that we include in the course are SurePath lessons, so that you will go through the SurePath link, and when you go in there, there'll be multiple lessons set up, and I'll go through this as well. I'll put up a video about SurePath. But you can pick essentially any two from the ones that I post for each section. So for each module, you'll do a total of 4, and I'll give you more information on that as well. So you can pick 2 from, usually our modules are set up into content that are, I still keep them as weeks, which you'll see as the course calendar, and I'll go through this, but I would say pick out the ones that you feel like you need more reinforcement with. And I always tell students, and I'll cover this as we go through the calendar, but you have to find an approach with how you want to study for the course. I typically always recommend students go through my lectures first, because I pull out the essential content that you really should focus on, and then basically do your reading alongside with it, because I try to pull out the areas that are very, very critical for you to focus on. Because a lot of the chapters, and there's a lot of print in the book, so you got to really learn how to focus your reading as well. So my lectures will kind of help you do this. And then I always typically recommend students go back after you listen to lectures, then do your SurePath lessons kind of towards the end. And this will basically kind of help reinforce the material with it as well. So SurePath lessons are graded on a pass-fail basis. So you essentially receive full points for completion. So when you go in through SurePath, I actually can see what you completed. You don't have to turn anything in. You don't have to submit an assignment. All you have to do is basically go in and complete 2 lessons for each week. So 4 lessons for each module. If you don't, it's a score and a 0. So if you complete it, it's not graded. It's basically you get the full points for it. And like I said, I'll go through this in a video about SurePath as well. The course ATI exam, we'll kind of discuss this as we move through the course a little bit more. The School of Nursing provides all accelerated second degree students with access to ATI nursing education. We'll discuss this more because it's a little bit different with your group, because you're actually not directly in the program at this moment. So it's kind of set up a little bit differently, and we'll talk about that as we move through the course. But to receive a final grade for this course, you must complete the pharmacology ATI test prior to the 12th week of class. Typically, it's like week 11 that we do it, and we do meet on campus for the exam. So that's the only time that we meet on campus is for the ATI exam. I will post the time, location. It's usually at the Human Health Building. I do have a tentative date up there. However, I have to verify with the School of Nursing to make sure that that's set in stone. So that's the tentative date, but I will fill you in as soon as I know more. There is proficiency levels that you have to meet with it. We'll talk about this later, and we'll go through ATI as we move through the course. So grading totals, it's made up of quizzes, 25% of your grade, your midterm exams, 25% of your grade, final exams, 25% of the grade, and then your assignments, which are like your case studies and your SurePath assignments. That's 20% of your grade. Your ATI exam is 5% of your final grade, so you get the whole 5% if you take, which is another thing I didn't mention, but you have access to 2 practice exams prior to taking the on-campus exam, and you'll get basically 2% for taking those practice exams. And I'll put up more information on our course site about this as well. So that's the same thing. You get the full 5% if you complete the ATI exams. As I mentioned in Part A, in nursing courses, you have to receive greater than a 70% in order to pass the course. Academic conduct and professionalism, you can go ahead and take a look at this. A lot of this is through your School of Nursing undergraduate handbook and university policy and procedures. Same thing, add drop policies. This is kind of the university policy, so take a look at that. The special considerations, I kind of went through that in Part A. You can look at that. Faculty and course evaluations, as I mentioned in Part A, where you'll be provided the opportunity to evaluate the course and in the faculty towards the end of the course, and I do recommend that you do that. And like I said, I'm always open to feedback. I'm always here to help you. So please feel free to reach out to me at any point and let me know, if you need any further help or if something that I can do or change to make it more effective for you guys. Some instructor and student expectations. So in order to be successful in this class, it is a lot of material. I can't change that. It takes time to learn pharmacology. It really does. So don't stress when you see the amount of content, and don't be overly concerned. You're thinking, how am I going to remember all this? And it's a process. It really is. It takes like I said, it takes your next nursing courses and kind of your clinical experiences to kind of pull all of it together. So this will help you with a foundation for it, but it takes time. So the biggest thing is listen to lectures. That's probably one of the most important factors that I can, or advice I can give you. Participate in our discussions, look at our course activities. The course discussions, I always leave each forum open. Each forum will have a different topic or a different case study. Those are usually like the essential concepts that I try to put in there. So I always recommend students, you'll have a designated forum, but I always recommend look at the other forums because it definitely will help you kind of focus in on other areas. So you can always look at the other students' forums. Same thing with quizzes. I forgot to mention this, but after quizzes close, after you're done with them, I always put very detailed information on the course quizzes. Like if you look in there, it'll have specific feedback. Go through the feedback that I put in there. I try to put a lot of details in there so that you understand why the answer is what it is. And I think it usually kind of helps clarify it. So that's another recommendation I always give students. Go back through the quizzes, go back through the feedback on the quizzes, because I do try to put in a lot of information in there. Another expectation, obviously, ask for help. That's what I'm here for. So anytime you need something, please feel free to reach out to me. Check your email, your course internal email. Make sure you check that when you log in. Respect the rules of etiquette, respect each other, and obviously try to participate. So as your instructor, obviously I'm here to facilitate an effective learning environment, providing class activities, discussions, and lecture. Providing you with a grading scale and detailed grading formula in explaining how your grades are derived, essentially. Informing you of policies, arranging to meet with you. So if you have to, or if you want to set up an appointment, please feel free to reach out to me. I am really good about checking my emails. I am very good about responding. If for some reason you don't hear from me within a day, that's not typical of me. So like I said, feel free to reach out to my OU email account. I don't have a problem with that at all because I usually am really good about checking email within the course Moodle site. Tips for online courses. Just try to keep up with the scheduled course content and the readings. With your readings, like I said, try to focus in on the areas that I covered during the lectures, and that should kind of help narrow it down for you a little bit. Online courses do require a lot of independent studying and learning, so just stay on track. That's my best suggestion with it. I do give the modules a fair amount of time, but with pharmacology, you can't wait till the end. I'll talk to you about this when we go through the calendar. Here's the WebEx support number and then eList number too. Like I mentioned, if you're having any technical difficulties, you can look at that as well. Be sure to check Moodle frequently, every day, every other day, because I do try to put up important updates or any information, new clarifications. So just review that when you have a free moment. So this is a tentative course schedule, as I mentioned. As you can see, I have it set up into modules, and you'll notice it on our course Moodle site. However, I do still leave it as a weekly schedule as well, because some students want to stay on that weekly schedule. It's up to you. You can, because really our modules will run basically like in a 2-week period. It is a lot of content, like I said, so some students like to stay on a weekly, basically a weekly schedule with this. So like the first week will be principles of pharmacology and drug therapy across the lifespan. And then you'll have a quiz for week 1, but this isn't going to be due till the end of the module. So as you can see here, it's not due till the 14th. Same thing with your SurePath lessons. They're not due till the 14th. Week 2, not due till the 14th. However, the quizzes and SurePath and all of this and your case discussions are all open from the first day of the module. So you do have the entire module to complete your course assignments. So it depends on how you want to, the approach you want to take. So if you want to do it in a weekly format, you can stick with that and complete your quiz after you do this week, or you can wait and do your quiz or both your quizzes at the end. And I mean, it just depends on how you study and how you want to take the approach to it. So the 15th, that's Martin Luther King Day, so there's no classes that day. Module 2, this is when we start to look at the nervous system. I do try to put up a lot of information on it because the nervous system is kind of one of those areas that are probably a little bit harder to understand. But it's an important area to understand because it does tie into a lot of drugs that we use, which is why we have to cover it towards the beginning of the class. Same thing, you have the entire module to complete your SurePath lessons and your quizzes. Or you can complete them early. It's up to you however you want to do it. If you want to do, this week and then complete your week 3 quiz, you can do it then. Or you can wait towards the end and do both. I always have all the dates, everything posted on our course Moodle site as well. So I always tell students, refer back to our course Moodle site. Don't strictly go from this because it should be the same, but always double check. Same thing, module 3, we start looking at cardiac, we look at fluid and electrolytes, and then it's split up into 2 different sections. And then like week 5, we'll go with week 5 content. Your quiz will go with that content. Week 6 content will go with this quiz. So I do keep them separated out for you. On the 16th, February 16th, this is your midterm exam. This will be online. Like I said, I typically leave it open from morning till night because I do understand that you guys have, a lot of you work still. So you can take it in the morning, you can take it during the day, or even in the evening, however you want to do with that. And I do always give updates prior to the midterm as well. Right after the midterm is winter break. I figured it would be better just to have you do your midterm prior to winter break. That way it's kind of off your plate and you can actually enjoy your winter break. So break is up until the 25th, and then we go back and then we start on module 4, which is endocrine, and then we go into respiratory. Module 5 will be your GI system, and then drug therapy for the immune system, which is when we start talking about like antibiotics, chemotherapy drugs, stuff like that. That's split up into 2 different modules because it is kind of a lot of content. As I mentioned, the ATI exam on campus on the 29th, the time is not set yet, but typically it's like late afternoon or sometimes even evening. As soon as I get this information, I will be sure to post it on our course Moodle page as well. But tentatively, it's on Thursday, March 29th. So I will update you guys on this as soon as I hear something. Module 6, this is the continuation of the immune system. So we'll still this is when we mainly look at antibiotics, and then we look at drug therapy for reproduction. So it's men's health, women's health. Final exam, you have your university study day on the 18th. The final exam is scheduled for the 23rd, and like I said, it's non-cumulative. It covers information from weeks 8 to 13. And as I mentioned, always refer back to our course Moodle site for official dates and assignment instructions. I always try to add that on there to make it clear. So if you have any further questions on the course syllabus, please feel free to reach out to me. Or if you have any questions, I'm always here to help. I will do my best to meet with you through WebEx or meet with you in person if needed. And looking forward to a great semester and hope you have a great day.